All right, welcome to the Side Action, episode 19 of season 4. I am Jim Weglars, aka Wegs. You can follow me at Wegspool on Twitter and Instagram.
And I'm Steve Roberts, aka Action. You can follow me on Twitter at 31S Roberts.
Follow the podcast at Side Action Pod on Twitter. So, Action, you can see I have the ring light. I have the ring light. Hopefully, America can see me again instead of the blurred out version. Um, so,
Sharp image, some
sharp.
focus there. Maybe it's something you got from Sharper Image.
Well, somebody sent it to me, brother. Thanks, bro, for the birthday gift. He's been great the last couple of years. Last year was the baseball. This year the ring light. So he's just thinking about me.
Solid gift giver right there.
Absolutely. So how was the New Year's Eve? Did you throw down, have a good time?
It was good. Nothing crazy at all. Marcus was visiting us, so we kind of hung out, had some really nice dinners that week. And New Year's Eve proper, we just kind of lounged around here, stayed in, watched football and a couple of movies as well. It was enjoyable, relaxing New Year's Eve. How about yourself?
As you know, I did the ping pong party. It was a lot of fun. A little too much fun, maybe. Was out pretty late. Had a good time though, which is important. My daughter was around, so we watched a ton of TV, caught up. She never had seen The Defenders on Netflix. We watched like all of those series, the entirety. She's now down visiting her mom, so back here, Edgewater Studio by myself. But I'm gonna have a big party this weekend for my birthday belated. So
Nice.
doing the game night party, which is a big ticket item. COVID obviously is ravaging America with Omicron, so we'll see how many people show, but there's a lot of people on the attendee list, so we'll see what happens. I'm looking forward to that, as well as this week 18 in the NFL. Usually we're in the playoffs by now.
Yeah, it's going to be strange having regular season football ongoing this first weekend in January. I'm not really sure what I'm going to do with myself on Saturday. For example, there's no divisional games to watch.
Yeah, it's weird. So we can talk about that. It's an interesting week. And then also, the college football playoff, the championship game is Monday night. We can talk a little bit about that. We have to talk about college football all year, but maybe you can help me because I'm in line to win the pool, the confidence pool, if I pick it right and the top guy doesn't. So I'll need
Nice.
your assistance. So anyway, well, let's jump into it. Recap for week 17. It was kind of a more or less split, although a little bit interesting on where people were. The dogs went 7-9 this week. So again, it's getting real close to that 50-50 in the season action. It always does. But this week, the road dogs got pummeled. So it was the home teams won big. So I had 3-9 for the road dogs. ATS, and then unders were big back again. So 10-6 this week, and in general, road teams kind of got smashed 5-11 in general. So we did have more games that were affected by the spread. So maybe it only took week 17 for Vegas to tighten this up, but now we actually have to look at the spread once in a while.
Yeah. I mean, you always knew. Well, maybe we didn't, but interesting to see how low those percentages were all season long. And now 4 games out of the 16 this weekend. So very interesting. The unders, I think that typically once the cold weather arrives, you see the scoring depress a little bit. So that's not surprising to see. And certainly the road dogs, that is surprising to me because we've talked about often on this podcast how home field advantage has been diminished in the league now. And the home teams played well this past week.
Right.
Except for the Colts.
Except for the Colts. Much to the excitement of our proxy, who is jumping up and down with glee because he was not only happy about the Raiders, but I told him there's no way they were going to win, and he was sticking that to the whole
Nice.
Let's talk about some of these highs. And the first one is, the Bengals, we did pick them, but out of the gate, that game didn't look so good. Action. It was like 21-7 and 28-14. And, Kansas City was kind of dominating the Bengals. And all of a sudden, this guy, Jamar Chase, who's my rookie of the year, by the way, he dominated 266 yards, 3 touchdowns on 11 catches. One of them was I don't know, he just ran through the whole defense on that play. And Cincinnati gets the win outright, 34-31. Although we probably should talk about Zach Taylor's choice at the end of the game there to go for fourth down and kind of got bailed out of some penalties. What was he doing right there?
Yeah, it was a very strange decision. I mean, on one hand, I guess you could look at the clock. I think there was like 40 or 50 seconds left,
Hmm.
and the Chiefs were without timeouts, but it's still Patrick Mahomes.
Sure.
And if they had failed there, I guess on one hand, you could consider that you have Mahomes has to go 99 yards or 60 yards to get into field goal range on you.
Sure.
And that would have been difficult. But certainly don't want to go to overtime in that situation when you have an opportunity to kick the field goal. And
Right.
he got bailed out. Thankfully, they kicked the field goal and then ended up winning the game by 3.
Yeah, analytics aside, I mean, I know we've talked about it. We're a little bit on different sides of that sometimes, Action, but I guess I just don't. Look, I don't want to lose to Patrick Mahomes, but I mean, that was a huge game for both teams, really.
Mm-hmm.
Got a chance to kick the field goal with maybe, I don't even know what it was at that time, minimal seconds, maybe 30 seconds or something. I don't know. I guess it's just strange to me, but they won the game. We would all talked about it on Monday if they didn't, if they missed a field goal or whatever, or got stuffed. They actually did, except for the offside. So,
Mm-hmm.
all right, the next one was the Titans, and this is a really crazy year for this team. I mean, the Titans, after being the number one seed, and we were shocked how they got there. They kept beating teams, even when Henry got hurt for a couple of weeks. Then they kind of cratered for a while. They came through big. I mean, they crushed the Dolphins. Game wasn't even close, and they housed the Dolphins. It was 34-3 or something. And
Mm-hmm.
in the end, they're the one seed if they win this week, which is incredible because I know Henry, I guess, is clear to practice this week, but he won't play this week, obviously. But either way, I mean, this couldn't have been a better result for this team. And now, not only did they win the AFC South, they can win the one seed this week.
Yeah, it certainly would be a big opportunity for them if they are able to defeat the Texans this time. They're locked into that number 1 seed. And, I think you got to give some credit to their defense. They held Miami to 3 out of 12 on third downs, which was a big outcome in the game. And
Right.
offensively, they got the running game going too with some of the backups. Hilliard had a big game on the ground. So, I mean, who knows? I'm going to be interested in fading them, though, whoever they match up with in the round 2 of the playoffs.
I know you are, but I do think Vrabel should be coach of the year. He may not be. I know there's been talk of LaFleur, talk of Zach Taylor, and obviously to Taylor's credit, I mean the guy. I mean they were picked. I had him winning 5 games. I mean they weren't supposed to be that great, and they're playing incredibly. So, but I don't know. Given what he's gone through, I think he deserves it. Let's look at some of these other notes I've got here. Kyler in Dallas. We talked about this on the pod, and of course it came to fruition. We didn't end up going with the pick. Everybody else did. But
Yeah.
where he goes to Dallas and he just dominates the Cowboys again. I mean, he wasn't like lighting up the scoreboard as he did last year, but he still made great plays. And the final score was 25-22. They were up big in this game, so they let Dallas come back, but they won the game outright, covering the 6 points. And I mean, this could be a matchup in the playoffs and next week.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it appears though that if they do rematch, it'll be in Cowboy Stadium again. But we didn't. I didn't pick this out before the game, and I was reading afterwards that Kyler Murray has never lost as a quarterback in that stadium. Several times in high school, winning championships, and then a few with OU. Now the Cardinals have played there twice, and they've won twice. So maybe going back there could be a good charm for them. But they definitely got the offense going in the first half, especially, and
Right.
just kind of held out for the win in the second half.
Right. Yeah, we'll talk. They have a chance to still win the division with the Rams. So on the
Fair.
lows, let's face it, this was really before, and we had this information. We didn't end up going with it in the contest, stayed away from it. But the Vikings, I mean, just in general, this team, you had Kirk Cousins who didn't play because of COVID, unvaccinated, whatever. Shane Mannion steps in, and Kellen Mond got in for like 2 plays, 194 yards passing on 24 completions. This is 44 or 4.4 yard average. That's not good action, at least last time I checked. And they missed the playoffs again. They've only made the playoffs once since whatever, the Minneapolis Miracle, the play to Diggs. And I kind of feel like it's time to fire Zimmer. I don't know how you feel, but I think that it's probably a whole reset there. But maybe they'll keep Kirk because he still has this big contract.
Yeah, it certainly would be a surprise if Zimmer stays on, don't you think, at this
Yeah.
point? Sean Mannion was worse than you and I expected, and unfortunately, we passed on the game, and almost every single one of our competitors in the contest picked up a W in that one. But I don't know what else to say about it. I don't know that you can give the Packers any sort of credit for that victory either.
Right. I mean, it's hard to figure it out because they're playing with such bad, quarterback play. And then we have the Giants. I mean, take Sean Mannion instead of whoever for the Giants. I mean, the opening play of the game, they fumble and almost do a, scoop and score here. They passed, and this was Mike Glennon, 24 yards on 11 attempts against the Bears. That is an all-time low in a non-weather game like in the NFL, like a non-affected weather game.
Yeah, another game that I was kicking myself that we passed on because
Yeah.
I think we
But
talked about the Bears a little bit,
we
but the
did.
Giants are just worse than I ever could have imagined. They are easily playing as the number 32 team in the league right now.
Yeah, they're really, really bad. And the last is Matthew Stafford. Now the Rams did win the game. They were down big. That was at 19-7 or something
Mhm.
against Baltimore, and they raged back. But I mean, Stafford has 6 interceptions his last 3 games. He had 2 more in this game. He did put them together on a last-minute drive. The Ravens just are depleted. They gave up the big score, and then they win the game 2019, but didn't cover. That was actually a game that we picked, unfortunately, for the Rams. I just, can we trust this guy in the playoffs? I mean, this guy is looking terrible. Obviously, Cooper Kupp might win. He could win the MVP for God's sakes, but Stafford, rough to see.
Yeah, it was definitely bleak for us at times in that game. And the Rams, thankfully for them, came back and won the game outright, but they had no chance of covering in the contest for us.
Right, I know. Bummer, bummer, Bill. I don't know, you want to review some of the injuries? I don't know if I can't actually. I'm just having issues scrolling on the Google page at the moment. Did you put any injuries up?
No, no major new injuries that I'm aware of this week. I mean, obviously, it being week 18, you have to be way more cognizant of what players are going to be sitting and starting, not only due to COVID, but now motivational issues, like on the Bengals side, who it's been announced that many of their starters are going to sit this week. So certainly something that you have to do a little bit more of a deep dive on before you pick these games to figure out who's going to be on the field.
Gotcha. Well, I will tell you, we'll go over the ratings stuff, but some of this is kind of thrown out the window. Maybe we can talk about this a little bit in general. Seems like the ratings don't mean a lot the last couple of weeks, to be honest with the action. But I mean, the Bills are still 1, the Bucks are 2, even though they struggled. They barely beat the Jets, and I don't know if that was an intentional loss by the Jets, but they really should have beat the Bucks. Cowboys at 3, Patriots 4, Cardinals, then Packers, Colts, Chiefs, Rams, then Eagles. I don't have the Bengals on the top 10 here, which is kind of interesting. But how does that stack up against DVOA?
Pretty close. The Cowboy, I mean, nothing actually, no real changes in DVOA since last week. The Cowboys are at the top in that list with the Bucks followed by the Bills. So the top three are the same, just a little bit reordered. And
Right.
Patriots right behind them as well, followed by Rams, Chiefs, Niners, and the Packers have jumped into the top 8. So very similar lists on both sides, to be honest.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Yeah. So I mean, obviously this is just more contest talk than analysis, but it's like this seems to be the swoon. We get to the end of the season, we do real well to a point because the metrics make sense, everything makes sense, and then there's a 2 week swoon. This is the 2 week swoon that we hit again this year. I mean, what do you think it is? You think it's just it's motivational issues? Like some of these teams just kind of mail it in, aka Giants, teams like that, and we just have to kind of throw out the metrics at this point.
Yeah, I do. I really think that you have to almost completely shift the way that you handicap games this time of the year. I was reading that Darius Leonard for the Colts came out today to the media and suggested that they didn't practice hard at all last week. I don't know if that's a mindset thing where they believe that their opponents are just going to lay down or what it is, but hopefully they practice hard this week, them knowing that they need to win the game to make the playoffs. But I do think, I mean, it's difficult as bettors for us to understand what the real motivational impetus is for these teams.
Right, right. Yeah, it's tough. I mean, for example, and not that we bet this game per se, we talked about it, we stayed away from it. I mean, look at Seattle. All of a sudden, I mean, they scored, what was it, like 50 points or something? I mean, they
Mhm.
destroyed the Lions, and the Lions actually put up a fight in the second half. But it was like, oh, okay, now we're going to play hard to save Pete Carroll's job. Is that what we're doing? I mean, we played like garbage all year, and all of a sudden we're going to play gangbusters. It's hard to predict that. And then obviously you have other situations. I mean, we knew that what was interesting, and we stayed away from it, but the whole contest jumped on the Steelers, and we had talked about it. You had talked about it was a smash spot for the Steelers because of the Ben news, but that's
Mhm.
not why they won that game. They won that game because Cleveland got eliminated,
Right.
right? And they
Yeah.
wouldn't have known that on Saturday, but they got eliminated from the playoffs, and obviously they came out and they're like, so it's just a little frustrating as a, stats guy over here trying to, come on, let's go, play the game 100%.
Yeah, I mean, this time of the year, the numbers, guys, you almost have to throw that out the window completely because it's a totally different game, and in many cases, it's not even the same team that you have been evaluating the numbers on throughout the entire season.
Right. Exactly. That's what I'm talking about. Okay, well, let's jump into this week. A little bit of a reset. We've got, 1 week to go. We can't really cash, but we want to do the best we can. So let's make our best picks here for our listeners too. Make money for everybody. So the first one, we have two games. Is this laid out right? What's the Saturday? There's another Saturday game, right? There's this,
These are just showing up in rotation order, I believe. But no, these are right. The two Saturday games are Dallas and Philadelphia at the late spot, and then Kansas City and Denver in the early game.
okay, just want to make sure. Okay.
Yeah.
So the first game on the, in the viewing audience is Kansas City going to Denver. Kansas City opens a 3-point favorite on the road, 43.5 point total. The Chiefs are now up to 10. I've even seen 11 here at Rivers in Chicago at 44.5 point total. So that was another team that's just cratered down the stretch as Denver. Um, we've got Drew Lock. We talked about him. He stinks. And the Chiefs obviously are still in the mix for the 1 seed if they win and the Titans lose. So you got to figure the Chiefs are motivated. And that's what the line is telling you, right? I mean, this is an early one. We could take it if we wanted to. Would you jump on the Chiefs?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah,
I mean, they certainly need to win the game, but I don't think that their motivation is going to be too high because the expectations that the Titans are going to lose are probably very slim.
right.
So I think this is a theme that you might hear me talk about a lot as we move forward here, that just because a team is in a must-win spot, it doesn't necessarily mean that they must cover. So laying 10.5 points in a game that potentially could, there's no real reason for the Chiefs to want to run the score up again this week. They have the playoffs to look forward to and likely a game the very next following week.
Right, right. It's true. That's true. Okay. So stay away from action. I was gonna
Yeah,
say,
and no interest in betting on Drew Lock, obviously.
yeah, he's garbage. Okay, so the second game is another game that really it's interesting. I did the playoff scenarios on the site this week. So you've got Dallas. Yeah, God, action. I'm telling you, this Google sheet is not working for me these days. I don't know what the deal is. I can't scroll it. Um, why don't you run it off?
Yeah, the next game, 8:15 p.m. Saturday, is Dallas going to Philadelphia, and the Cowboys are laying 4.5 as road favorites.
Right, right. So, I mean, you got to figure the Cowboys want to win. The Eagles aren't locked into their playoff spot, but they could go up one slot, basically, if 49ers lose.
Hmm.
Uh, the Cowboys, they can't get to the 1 seed from what I've figured out.
Sure.
So, I think it's just a rest spot. I mean, it's going to be a backup game. I mean, it's disappointing. They did this. The scheduling was good if, maybe Philly was 1 game better, right? But is it just another stay away spot for you, or you think you would lay it with Dallas?
No, I don't think I would lay it with Dallas. I would probably lean to the Philadelphia side here in this game, taking the home underdog in the division. I realize that Philly doesn't have a whole lot to play for either. I think they could advance 1 seed in the playoffs. Is that right? I was reading
That's
your blog post, but I haven't read if it's going to be the starters. Jalen Hurts was pretty good, and Boston Scott was great last week. So
Mhm.
and again, I just think that the Cowboys is a team that is a little bit overrated at this point in the season.
They are. They are. I will say about Philly, from what I understand, they haven't beaten a winning team all season. This would be their first. If the Saints win this weekend, then technically the Philly would have beaten a winning team. Other than that, all wins are against sub 500 teams. That's my only thing against Philly. And my coworkers love Philly, so sorry guys. But so I probably figure I get it. You're getting the home dog at 4.5 in the division. It seems like a good number. I just don't know if they're that good of a team.
Yeah. But do you have interest in laying the points with the Cowboys on the road?
Not really. No.
Okay.
It'd be more of a stay away spot just because if Dallas is playing for the 1 seed, yeah, sure. But in the end, yeah, you're probably right. Philly's they probably would win the game. It's probably a decent money line spot, but I don't know about contest pick for me.
Okay.
All right, so next one is Green Bay at Detroit. This Green Bay opens as an 11-point favorite on the road, 46.5-point total. It's all the way down to 3.5 in the contest. Total's 44.5. Green Bay has nothing to play for. Obviously, they won the 1 seed outright. They have the best record in the NFL in general. So they have no motivation at all. So, I mean, these are tough games. Like, do you say, okay, I don't even know are they going to sit Rodgers? Is that already reputed? I don't even know.
Everything that I've been reading suggests that Rodgers is going to play. And I don't know if that's his opinion or the coaching staff or the front office, but I don't believe it for a second. I don't see, I mean, they may start the game, but I don't see any reason that the Packers are going to roll out their starters and try to run through the Lions in this game. And for that reason, I think that there's some value here in looking at the underdog Lions as a home underdog in the division. They've proven that they play hard week in and week out, and I have no doubt they'll do that this week as well.
Right. Yeah, me too. I mean, I think that's the right side. I just, I don't know what happened last week. I just like what happened last week because that was just
Rashad Penny ran for like 1,000,000 yards against them.
I know that was weird. I was like, God, they couldn't stop the run. They've been pretty solid this year. I don't know. I guess we could put a yellow on that one. I might have some other ones that I like better.
Sure.
We'll see. Okay, so the next one is Chicago going to Minnesota. The Bears obviously got their big win against the crummy Giants. Minnesota is a 6-point favorite at home, 45-point total. It's 5.5 in the contest. The market says 3.5 for the Vikings, 44.5-point total. I don't know what to do with this team. Like the Vikings, to me, I mean, their season's over. So is Chicago's. And it's reported that Nagy's probably going to get fired. So maybe they're playing for Nagy. They did last week. And this is the kind of shit that I don't like, Action. It's like the numbers don't tell me anything in this one, except that I know Minnesota defense sucks. The Bears defense is pretty good. And in the end, I mean, I love the weapons on Minnesota, but sometimes they play like dog shit, to be honest with you. So.
Yeah, this one is really difficult. What do you make of the difference in the contest line, 5.5 versus the current market today at 3.5? It appears that Circa believes it's going to rise between now and kickoff.
I mean, look, I have the game at Vikings -5. So maybe they're just like, hey, ignore the noise. We're going to put the real number because both these teams are out of it. But I think that people eventually are going to be like, the Vikings are a better team, right? I mean, I don't know. And the Vikings have beaten the Bears, I don't know how many years running in Minnesota. Maybe last year the Bears beat them. I can't remember, but they almost always beat them in Minnesota. It's just like death taxes. So I'm not sure, dude. I can't really say. I think it's the real line, I guess is what I'm saying. It's just surprising that the line's so depressed towards the Bears.
Yeah, and actually, as I say that, it does look like it's pretty much 5.5 across the board now as we speak this evening. So apparently they were in line with the market. But I was interested in the Minnesota side in this game initially until today. I read reports that Justin Fields hit the COVID list. And I think whether it's Dalton or Nick Foles inserted into the lineup actually gives the Bears a little bit more of an edge, a fighting edge in this game. as an underdog. And like you said, historically, they have performed really well in this spot on the road.
Right, right. Well, I guess we'll put it as a yellow. It's going to be out as all week. We're going to talk about these crazy lines that, I'm too linear. I'm too like binary. I need to figure this out. I like looking at numbers. But we'll see what happens here. Let's see. So another one action lead off because I can't scroll
Sure.
down on this sheet. Okay.
AFC East divisional game. We've got the New England Patriots going on the road to Miami, and the Patriots are showing as a road favorite -6.
Yeah. This one I can get behind the Patriots. I mean, the Patriots are still in line for the division. Is that right? That's
I
not
think
true.
so.
They can't take. Yeah, they can. They can take the division if they win, right?
Yeah,
And Buffalo loses.
and Buffalo loses, right?
Yeah. So I think they have all the motivation in the world. I was really disappointed in Miami last week. I knew that they hadn't played anybody, but damn. Um, and I know Miami, look, traditionally New England sucks in Miami, but I don't know if that was Tom Brady or what. But I got to think that they're going to come out with a fury here, and they're going to beat this Miami team. 6 is a lot to lay, to be honest with you, but Miami's out of the playoffs, so to me it lines up for the Patriots.
Yeah, the Patriots really opened a can last week against the Jaguars, huh?
Oh my God. There's another, we've talked about it all season. This team, they have two performances like this. What was the other one? Was it Cleveland?
The
They beat
Jets.
somebody like the Jets, like 50 to 7 or something. I mean, look, and it's interesting is they didn't put their, Belichick's like, screw it, we're going to keep scoring. I don't know why. I mean, he's looking for point differential. I don't think it matters, but they did. I mean, Mac looked pretty good in that game.
Yeah, it beat me on a couple of live unders in that one as the Pats just continued to run the ball into the end zone throughout the second half. But we digress. I actually like the Dolphins in this game, catching 6 points. I think as you mentioned, it really lines up motivationally speaking that the Patriots should win this game. But I think that the Dolphins, despite their loss last week and getting knocked out of the playoff chase, are going to continue to fight for Coach Flores. And speaking of Coach Flores, he is obviously a Belichick disciple, and he always has his team prepared to play against the Pats.
He does. He does. Well, we're on different sides on that one. Okay. Well, maybe that'll be one you talk me in later. I don't know if I can get on board with you, but we'll see. I mean, I do have the game that the Pats are like 8 points better, so it's tough.
Okay.
I mean, the thing is those explosive performances do kind of knock the index off because they don't score that many points normally. So it is a big spread for this low total game, which is kind of an actual fundamental for gambling. I'll put it yellow for New England, maybe, or for Miami. Maybe I can get on board with you.
Right on.
So I think the next game is Indy Jacksonville. Is that right? Action.
Nailed it.
All right. So your Colts going to Jacksonville. They open as 8.5 point favorites on the road, 44.5 point total. They're up to 16 in the contest, which, wow, 44 point total. Look, the Colts got to win, right? They got to win to get in. I mean, if they lose, they can possibly be sitting on the sidelines, which is unfathomable with this team, especially metrically. Damn, 16 is a lot of points, but Jacksonville sucks. I mean, you're not going to make the case for Jacksonville now, are you?
You have to. I think certainly I wouldn't lay 16 points with the Colts in any century or football, but Jacksonville, Indianapolis hasn't won on the road in Jacksonville since 2014. So this has been a house of horrors for the Colts lately. And I understand that they have to win this game. And Darius Leonard in that same interview said that they've been practicing super focused all week. And I expect they're going to come out focused. But winning by 16 is a whole nother conversation. And I would probably lean to Jacksonville here, although probably not with strong conviction, just given the fact that they've been getting pasted recently.
Right, right. Yeah, I can't do it in a contest. I mean, I hear what you're saying. I mean, I'm also gleaning. I'm in the running. I'm tied for first in the ATS with Donovan's group and stuff. So I do have to glean some information here. Last 2 weeks have not been kind to me, but I hear what you're saying. It's just tough. This team has not played well. I mean, the Jets, they played well, but the last couple of games before that, they've not. So we'll see. You're right. 16 is a lot of points. It's a tough one for a divisional game too. Let's stay away, action.
Okay.
All right, next
Uh,
game, Jets. Go ahead.
you got it. I was just asking if
I'm
you got
I'm
the.
on the right page now. When we get to the next scroll, I don't know if I can see it again. So
Okay.
Jets, Buffalo. We've got Buffalo open as a 17-point favorite at home, 45-point total. It's 16 in the contest, 16 and a half in the, across the board, and 41-point total. Again, Bills highly motivated here, have to win to keep the division. And it's really about seeding now. They want to get a home game at least.
Mhm.
Huge number, but I mean, you got to back the Bills, right? I mean, the Jets, they played great, sorta. I mean, my guy Wilson decided to start playing football, but I don't know, man. I can't back the Jets, man. I can't do it. I
Okay.
told you last week we should have done it, but this is
Yeah.
Buffalo. I can't
Yeah.
do it.
Well, I will give you that credit. You were suggesting the Jets last week,
Yeah,
but I don't think I can lay the points with Buffalo here. This is another team that obviously has the motivation to win the division, but despite their history where they like running the games up late, I don't see them doing it this week, knowing that, and in all likelihood, actually, it's guaranteed that they're going to be playing next week in a playoff game. I
right.
don't see Josh Allen running the ball late to make this 14-point game a 17 or a 10-point game 17. So
Okay.
I think if we were to pick, I would only side with the Jets here, but I'm with you. I think it's probably a pass.
Yeah, good call. Good call. Can I interest you in a Tampa Bay game? Tampa Bay at home, Carolina. We didn't talk about Antonio Brown, by the way, but Tampa Bay open as a 16 and a half point favorite at home, 43-point total, 8 points in the contest. It's between 8 and 7.5 with a 41.5 point total. And we'll touch loosely on Antonio Brown, which we didn't mention at the top. I mean, he's a nutcase. We all know it. I've known it for 3 years. I feel bad for the guy. Maybe it's CTE. Maybe he's got mental problems. He's taking his shirt off. He's dancing around the end zone mid-play. I mean, whatever. But I will tell you the story behind that. We'll talk about in the playoff preview next week. You lost Godwin, you lost Brown. You don't have
Mhm.
that mid-range guy. You've obviously got Evans, but anyway, Tampa still has, motivation here. I mean, they can't be the 1 seed, obviously, but they could be the 2 seed if they win. They've obviously won their division. Carolina has baffled me. This team has just stunk in the second half. Um, and I don't know. I guess they played okay against the Saints, but Saints have no offense. 8 points at home with Tampa. They've been covering numbers pretty much except for against the Saints. What do you think about the Bucks?
I don't know. I don't know. I think that this offense is broken a little bit right now. You touched on Antonio Brown, and I'll add that I had so many Antonio Brown props last week because of his contract incentives. I was drinking the Kool-Aid, and that was a wild way to lose a bunch of prop bets. But I made them too because Mike Evans was banged up, and he actually
Sure.
performed better than I expected in the game, but he's still hurt. And beyond Mike Evans, they've now lost these other two receivers. I don't think this offense has a whole bunch of a bite. You didn't touch on Fournette being out of the lineup, and Ronald Jones got hurt last week as well. Speaking of
He did.
injuries, so I just don't think this is an offense right now that's capable of running scores up. And on the other side, the Carolina Panthers have been a stout defense all season long. That
They
hasn't
have.
been their issue. So I think
Right.
that there's value on the underdog here.
Okay. All right. Maybe let's put this one as a yellow, even though it's
Okay.
against my index pick for Carolina. Only because that number's rough, 8 points. I mean, it's the same thing last week. It was like they road, I think it was 7 or 6.5 or something. They didn't end up covering that one, but it was close till the end on that one.
I have one more
Uh,
thing to add in terms of the seeding. Do you think that Arians and the rest of the team is all that concerned about 2 versus 3? And will they risk even more players trying to push on late with Brady being so old and the rest of their offense down to, bare bones?
Yeah, I mean, the answer to the question is that he shouldn't, but I don't know. I mean, Arians after this week, it's a disaster situation with Antonio Brown. It's a PR nightmare. Who knows what was said? Maybe they told him to get in the game when he was injured. I have no idea.
Mhm.
So they got to kind of look decent in this game because they're going to play the following week to me. So I agree with you. They're probably not going to. I mean, I can't see Brady if they're up like 10 points or 14 or something. They got to pull him, right? You can't,
Yeah.
you're not going to make him that much. You don't need him at all. And like you said, 2 versus 3 isn't that big of a deal, but I don't know. I would love for them to give us news and say Brady's sitting, and that'd be easy.
Right.
You know?
Okay.
All right. The next one is Tennessee, Houston. Tennessee is was a 10-point favorite on the opener, 44-point total. It's still there. Tennessee is a 10-point favorite on the road, 43-point total. Look, the Titans have to win to keep the 1 seed. I believe that they will. They don't have all the weapons that they should, but Vrabel knows how to rally his troops. Will you take this one -10? I've got it. Come on, -10. Titans on the road.
No.
Look at this guy. He's kept an underdog all week, all day. He's back to the rest of the season.
I do like a lot of underdogs this week. I don't see, again, this is not an offense that's capable of blowing teams out despite the outcome last week. And despite the outcome last week,
Okay.
AJ Brown is back, and Julio Jones is still in and out of the lineup. But in the previous game, remember, Houston went in and beat the Tennessee Titans in Nashville. And I think that I'm expecting the Texans are going to play hard again this week. I don't expect they're going to win again, but I think that you have some value catching 10 at home with the Texans.
Mm-hmm. Can I get on board with that, bro? I don't know. Okay. Back
Okay.
away. It's gonna be a rough one. It's gonna be a rougher week than I thought. That's okay. It's okay. That's why we do the podcast.
You're interested in laying 10 with the Titans?
Absolutely. 100%.
Okay.
I mean, I know what you're saying, and I get, the Texans beat them. That's, fascinating. But I think that Tennessee is going to come out and throttle this team. They got to win the 1 seed. They got to take it down in terms of, getting Henry back and taking that extra week. And they're playing on a roll now. They've beaten 2 good teams. Well, Miami's not great, but they beat San Francisco and they beat, obviously, Miami. That was a big game. 10 points. I think Houston's defense is okay, but I think Deontay Foreman's playing great in the absence of Henry, and I think they're going to beat him. I mean, 10 points is a big number, no question, but Houston hasn't covered much lately, right?
They before the loss last week at San Francisco, they had 2 covers against the Chargers in Jacksonville.
Right, that's true. They did beat the Chargers. So I don't know. I mean, I guess I'm looking at more motivation, and I mean, it's really pretty close to my index anyway. So it's like 8 instead of 10, but it's okay. We can disagree and move on. Okay, Washington and the Giants. This one's whatever. Washington let us down again. Washington -4, of course, on the road in the opener, 41-point total. They're up to 7 in the contest, 38.5-point total. I don't know what to say. The only thing I will say about extra motivation, because neither of these teams are going anywhere, is that Joe Judge called out Washington and said they're a clown organization or something like that. So I kind of think there is motivation for Washington here. 7 points is a big number, but the Giants have stunk. So, I mean, you would probably say, hey, the Giants have stunk. Everybody thinks they stink, so let's go with them because but that's kind of my theory last week, and it didn't work. So I'd probably lay 7 versus do nothing.
Yeah, I agree. I have no interest in the Giants. I think I read that the giraffe neck, Mike Glennon, is out for the rest of the season. Yeah, with hand surgery. So it's going to be Jake Fromm. And Jake Fromm has been probably the worst quarterback that's suited up for any significant amount of time this season. And I don't think that they're going to be able to throw the ball at all against the Washington team. So I would definitely be interested in laying the points.
A green one. We did it.
All right.
It only took us like 8 picks or 10 picks. Thank you, Action. All right. Let's lay some points here.
Okay, there's one favorite.
There we go. All right, let's go to the next one, New Orleans and Atlanta. New Orleans Open is a 3.5-point favorite on the road, 42-point total. It's 4.5 in the contest, 40.5-point total. Again, great work by Circa here, making it really tough. I mean, the Saints, again, they have a snowball's chance in hell to make the playoffs. They can do it. They need some help. They need San Francisco to lose. It's the 4 o'clock window, so you're not going to know until later, but I got to think New Orleans is going to win the game. I know that Atlanta, they really had some games where they could have won. They did follow suit that they're not going to, for us, they don't play good teams well. But God, 4.5 sucks, man. I would have gone the Saints if it was 3.5 maybe, but it's just a tough number.
Mm-hmm. I like Atlanta in this game. I think this is one that screams New. People are going to be lining up to bet New Orleans because they have to win to make the playoffs. And Atlanta, despite being knocked out of the playoffs, has shown some ability. They fought hard last week. Did you see Matt Ryan spiking the ball and then trash talking against the Bills late in the game?
I did.
That showed me that the Falcons are in for a fight, and they also won on the road in New Orleans previously this season. And so I think this is a matchup that they might have an advantage, and I think there's value with the home underdog.
Okay, I can see that one. Atlanta, yellow.
Okay, done.
Well, mainly because what? I mean, we've talked about it. New Orleans really struggles covering numbers. They just do. They did last week barely. They really shouldn't have covered the game. And in the end, that offense is kind of broken. I mean, it was funny because who knew that Jameis Winston was going to be the best quarterback for them in that system, going in. So
yeah, and they couldn't run the ball at all last week as well. Not that Atlanta has any sort of stout defense, but it was really Kamara just catching balls out of the backfield that really did all the damage.
Right, usually is. Okay, so the next game is Pittsburgh against Baltimore. Obviously, Pittsburgh got the big win Monday night. Ben was crying, whatever. Now he's on the road at Baltimore, 6.5-point favorite for Baltimore home, 42-point total. It's 6 in the contest. The market is 5.5. This is for the Ravens, 41 and 42, depends on where you're, or 41.5 to 42 in the total. Really interesting game action. I'm a little surprised Baltimore's this favored. I mean, I'm assuming Lamar Jackson's back. Is that what's happening?
That's questionable because I had seen some reports that he was going to be trending towards playing this week, but I personally don't see the value in risking him in a game where, you mentioned the Ravens have a very slim chance to make the playoffs, and I believe that it's going to be Huntley, even though it hasn't been explicitly reported that way.
Right. And obviously Pittsburgh, so it's a weird situation. Pittsburgh can win with some help, but it's a goofball situation. Baltimore technically can make the playoffs. I mean, it's kind of crazy. If the Colts lose, the door opens, wide open for them. But so here's the question for you. So Huntley has covered every week, right? I mean, have they not covered every damn week with this guy in the lineup? I mean, because they're usually the dog. This is a weird situation that they're favored. I don't understand. If this guy was a dog, I'd be all over it. I can't lay 6 with them, even though I think Ravens could win the game. But it's just a weird situation.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, the one game that they didn't cover in the stretch of the last 4 was in Cincinnati when Huntley got out with COVID at the end and Josh Johnson stepped in.
Right.
But before that, they covered late against Green Bay and then Cleveland the week before the strong performance last week against the Rams. Right. And I understand what you're saying. Huntley isn't necessarily a high flyer, but I think that his play the last 4 weeks has been more impressive than Lamar Jackson this season. And speaking of Lamar Jackson, he's probably worried right now that he's going to get Wally Pitt and lose this job. But I think, in my opinion, the handicap here lies on the other side with the Steelers. After that game on Monday night, Big Ben had his swan song and he was crying, as you mentioned. I think that they're gonna come out super flat in this game, despite their chances of making the playoffs and it being a divisional game. I think that they're just gonna mail it in, and the Ravens are gonna trounce them.
Okay. Well, I'll get on board with the Ravens. I mean, I'm not back the Steelers all season. I don't like them. It's just a weird situation. And again, I don't think Huntley's been a favorite yet. So it's be a lot better. But we could go yellow, since you're trounced. So like you say, he's gonna hammer spot.
I will say though, if for some reason it's announced Lamar Jackson's going to play, I have zero interest in the Ravens. I mean, he's clearly banged up, and I would much rather be betting on Huntley at 100% than Lamar Jackson at anything under 100.
Okay. All right. So next game, Cincinnati and Cleveland. Cleveland opens a 1.5-point favorite at home, 46-point total. The Browns are now a 6.5-point favorite with 38-point total. This is because Joe Burrow's not playing, right? Is that the deal?
Correct. Yeah.
So, and that makes sense. So to me, it's just a straight stay away. I don't love Cleveland now. I can't do it with these guys.
Mm-hmm. Baker Mayfield on the other side will also be out, going down for shoulder surgery. So Case Keenum will be under center for the Browns, and I think that's probably an upgrade too. So
Sure.
Definitely all signs point to the Browns being favorites, and that's why you're seeing 6.5. But I agree we should pass.
Okay, perfect. All right, next game. Here we go. It is, wait, did I miss one? Dang it. Is it Baltimore? Or no, I already did that one. Okay.
Seattle and Arizona.
I've got it, scrolling. All right, so Seattle and Arizona. Arizona opens a 5-point favorite at home, 46.5-point total. They're up to 6.5 in the contest with a 47.5 to 48-point total. Like the 5 a lot better, but I still like the Cardinals here. They still have a chance to win the division. They've got to win. And I can't remember the matchup advantage on this one, but is it, yeah, Arizona they beat Seattle normally in the matchup, right?
I think Seattle has their number. Yeah. I'll pull up the head-to-head. But despite that, I'm with you. I think that Seattle has been underperforming this season despite last week. And on the other side, the Cardinals got right with that victory in Dallas. And I do think that this is another game that they're going to use to get the offense going. With the loss of Hopkins, they're really trying to focus on getting some of the other receivers involved. James Conner didn't suit up again last week, and I think that he's going to be trending more towards playing, so that'll certainly help the offense as well.
Yeah, I mean, Edmonds came out questionable on the report, but I think he'll play. He's been really good, and I just think that, your guy, Rondale Moore, adds an element. He's back. Christian Kirk played really well, so even in Hopkins' absence, they're figuring something out. So, yeah, I like Arizona, and they are an index pick as well. All right, let's see. San Francisco and the Rams are kind of the marquee game in the 4 o'clock window. The Rams open as a 6.5-point favorite at home, 44.5-point total. In the contest, it's 4 points for the Rams, same total. Look, the Rams win, they win the division, they get the 2 seed. San Francisco wins, they're in. If they lose, they need help. They need to, they have to make sure that New Orleans loses, right? So it gets really dicey. Look, I hate Stafford. I'm on record now. I'm definitely on record for hating this guy. But damn, and San Francisco usually owns this matchup, right? This is the matchup they own.
Nailed it. 5 in a row.
So
victors.
4 points, man. So you got to take the Niners, right?
Yeah,
+4.
Definitely. And this has been a sharp side already this week. This one opened up closer to 6.5, I think, and you saw money immediately come in on the San Francisco side, bringing it down to its current number. And I think it's the right move. I don't think the Rams are worth backing in this spot, because I expect that Jimmy G will be back this week under center for the Niners, and they're going to get the run game going against the Rams. So I do think that the Niners are the pick.
Okay, good. Hey, another green.
All right.
All right. So the last game of the one it's already a playoff game, which is exciting. The Chargers and the Raiders. I know our proxy has got his Derek Carr jersey on right now as we talk about this. Vegas, actually, the Chargers open as a 2.5-point favorite on the road, 47.5-point total. It's 3 in the contest for the Chargers on the road, 49.5-point total. The Chargers beat them pretty soundly when they were in LA earlier in the year. Vegas has somehow strung together a couple of wins here, and they got a shot. Winners in, losers out. If they tie, there's some weird things that can happen, but that usually doesn't happen. So, I mean, the Chargers are the better team, right? I mean, I've been going against my proxy for weeks, and I keep getting slapped in the face.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, this one opened at 2.5 and ticked up to 3. which I think is a key move onto that number. Um, it does look like that Darren Waller's going to be back this week, which will certainly help their offense. And I got to say, Derek Carr has been awesome lately. I mean, he was so good last week against the Colts. And he's really carried this team since the loss of Coach and Ruggs. So this is a really tough game. I lean to the Chargers as well, but do you think this is going to be a pretty heavily picked game in the contest?
Yeah, I think on both sides. I think it's going to be maybe
True.
it's a good stay away spot. I definitely think everybody's going to put a pick on it. It's the last game. It's exciting. You also did mention Hunter Renfro. Kid's balling. I mean, the kid's playing great. Who knew that that little guy who was balding at 21 out of Clemson or played like 17 years at Clemson was going to be this good in the pros? But yeah, I think we stay away. Actually, I mean, I do like the Chargers, but man, +3 with the Raiders at home. Not there's a real home field advantage, but seems like a logical number for the Raiders. But I just think the Chargers are a better squad. And well, let's see. I mean, let's see if Herbert's got it, because this is his big chance to get to the playoffs.
Yeah, I think there's been a lot of money on the over in this game. Bettors are expecting both teams to go balls out to win this game. Obviously, they have to get in and see a lot of points. You also got to expect that the Raiders are going to be able to run all over the Chargers like every opponent has done this season.
That's right. I mean, we've said that for weeks, and it's usually true. You know, it happens. It happens. So, okay, well, let's stay away for now. I think we've got some other picks.
Yeah.
So let's. I'm gonna have you review the picks
Yep.
as I try to get to the bottom of the screen here.
Sure. We've got a lot of yellows that we'll have to sort through on Saturday. Detroit catching 3.5 at home against the Packers. The Chicago Bears on the road +5.5 at the Vikings. The Dolphins +6 at home versus the Patriots. Carolina on the road catching 8 against Tampa Bay. We do have a solid pick on the Washington football team, -7 on the road at the New York Giants. Another maybe with the Falcons at home, +4.5 versus the Saints. The Ravens at home, -6 versus Pittsburgh. The Cardinals at home, -6.5 versus the Seahawks. And then another one of our solid picks was the 49ers going on the road to LA, catching 4 points.
Okay, we've got some to pick from. I feel pretty good about those. I can live with those. I know there were some that I was poo-pooing quite a bit, but I think we can get on board. We got 2 solid ones, which is always helpful.
Yeah.
So we'll talk on Saturday again, and en route to volleyball, likely actually.
And not unlike every other week, the past couple, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of COVID news between now and Saturday morning too.
Right. Okay, well, let's review the contest. So we went 2-2-1 last week. Okay, fine. We didn't lose a lot of ground. We didn't gain ground. That's what we wanted to do. So in the shot of the money, guys, we lost it, guys. Sorry, everybody. We did our best. We were 3 picks better than last year, which is awesome action. That's a lot. Way better. But unfortunately, the competition's gotten better. There's a bigger pool. So, I mean, at the top of the heap, it's 60-24-1. That's 71.18%. Just to give you some reference, in the super contest over at the Westgate, the guy on top is at 57. So, this is somebody's dominating. And I believe the guy who's number 1 also has the number 3 entry, is what I heard. And the number 2 guy has the number 5 entry. So there's some real studs in there. That's 3.5 picks better than last year at this time when we finished the contest. So just to tell you how good it is. In the top 50, it's 50 and 30, which is 64.71%. That's 4 picks better than last year, dude. So look, you did 3 picks better, but the field got 3 to 4 picks better. That's pretty impressive. I mean, maybe it's an anomaly. I'm not really sure, but I will tell you that if we would stay on track with which weren't able to do, I think we're going to be really close. If we would have hit that magic number I was looking at, I think we would have been. So I think we would need at least 7 to get in there. But anyway, let's see what we can do in this week action. Obviously, I'd love to get in with the top 500 at least. That would be nice to do. If we get a 4-1 or 5-0 or something and get over 50 picks, that's really good for an 18-week season.
Yeah, it's incredible that over 50 entries are hitting better than 64% against the spread. That's incredible. And just goes to show how difficult this contest is now as it grows year over year. Over 4,000 entries makes it that much harder to actually cash.
Yeah, and I didn't put the guy with the booby prize who apparently has it locked up. I mean, the guy's only gotten like 27 picks right or something,
Wow.
winning by a full 3 picks or something like that, or 4 picks. So that dude's locked up the 100 grand. So good for him. But hey, good effort this year. It's 56.5% is really good, man. I mean,
Yeah.
it's awesome. Hopefully we can do a little bit better after this week and have something to build on for next year. So before we sign off, I wanted to ask, I know I mentioned this at the top. We didn't do any analysis for college. I'm sure you've done more. I mean, you've got the big Georgia versus Alabama matchup. Are there any thoughts on that game? And obviously, Kirby Smart's never beaten him. I'm really only one assistant's ever beaten the great Nick Saban. So what do you think about in that game?
I think he got him in that one SEC championship game, right? But then when they went to the
Okay.
national title game, then Alabama came back and won the title. But
Right, right.
anywho, I lean to Georgia, to be honest with you. I think that this year it's flipped where Alabama got them in the championship game. And now in
Okay.
the rematch, I am optimistic that Kirby Smart and the offensive coaches are going to change up the game plan a little bit. We saw in the semifinals that they came out and threw the ball on a lot of first downs with Bennett, and that caught Michigan off guard completely. And I anticipate they may have a similar game plan this week.
Yeah, I mean, Georgia's 2.5 point favorites in that one, 52 point total. I think so. I want that to happen. In a way,
Mm-hmm.
it's not that I'm totally anti-Alabama. I mean, I think Saban's probably the greatest of all time in terms of college coaches. But I mean, come on, somebody's got to beat these guys. I mean, we've seen Clemson beat them in the big spot, but I'm kind of just rooting for Georgia. I mean, they had them a couple of years back when Tua was there as a freshman, but that's more of a heart pick than an analysis pick. But they were the best team all year except for that Alabama game.
Yeah, totally. And I mean, it's going to come down to the secondary play on both sides, whether or not Bennett can actually throw against Bama and how well the Georgia defense fares against Bryce Young and company.
Well, he was just chucking against the Wolverines. I mean, that game when he hit the big pass, and I don't know what the corner was doing. He just stopped for a second and let the guy run past him. I'm like, who is this kid? Like, I mean, he wasn't. I didn't think it was a great throw, to be honest with you. But hey, they were just taking their shots, and sometimes you got to do that to make things happen. So I heard the Alabama secondary is a little bit more suspect than years past. So
Mm-hmm.
hopefully they. All right. Well, I don't know any big plans for the weekend. I mentioned my party, but you got something going this weekend?
I think we got a little snowfall here in Southeast Michigan, so we're gonna maybe head up and try to hit a local ski hill, get ourselves warmed up for our big trip to the Alps in a few weeks.
Oh, I didn't know
So
you. Son, nice.
yeah, Switzerland is in our plans a couple weeks from now, so we're gonna try and get warmed up here in the Southeast Michigan hills.
Good for you. Yeah, yeah. I mean, if you haven't skied in a minute, it might be a good idea. That's great. Yeah, in a couple of weeks, I'll be in Florida, so we'll have to work out that as well.
Yeah.
But just so for our listeners who are avidly, we'll still talk about football next week. Of course, we'll do a kind of a playoff preview, and then I don't know if we'll tease a little bit for college, or maybe wait for 2 weeks to do some college basketball because that'll be the next stage for the podcast till the beginning of April.
Yeah, for sure. I'd like to still work in some other sports too. I know
Yeah.
our lead into the podcast talks about the four major sports, but we've kind of let them trail off a little bit.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. If you want to do that, I mean, I know that, we know Melissa loves the NBA. That's one way, but I know golf props and all that stuff are a big way to make money for people that are interested. And then obviously there's other sports. I mean, get back to the action talking about his favorite soccer, of course.
That's always an option too, or tennis. We could throw in some Australian Open.
Nice, nice. Okay, well, great. Well, follow the podcast at Sign Action Pod on Twitter. Follow me at Wegspool on Twitter and on Instagram.
And follow me on Twitter at 31S Roberts.
All right, everybody. Have a great week, and let's enjoy the last week.